I need you to understand something before I tell you this. I am not the kind of person who panics. I've been camping since I was 7 years old. I know how to read weather, I know how to read terrain, and I knew how to read a fire. Whether the wood is catching, whether it's dying, whether it needs tending. I know what a dead fire looks like. So when I tell you that we packed up our site on the morning of September 14th, doused that fire with 6 full liters of water, buried the ash under 6 inches of dirt, drove 4 hours home, and then received a call from a county ranger 3 days later telling us that our campfire was still burning. I need you to understand. I know what I did. I know what I saw. And I have no explanation for what happened next. You're listening to The Faint Whisper, where missing person files don't end, they echo.
Authorities in Harlan County confirmed Thursday that a small, contained fire of unknown origin was discovered at an unoccupied campsite.
There were 4 of us. Me. My name is Caleb, and that's the only name I'm using today. Then there was my college roommate, Drew, his girlfriend, Mara, and Mara's older brother, Patrick, who had done wilderness trail work in his 20s and acted like that still counted for something. We'd been planning this trip since the summer before the pandemic pushed everything back. Duskpine State Forest, Sector 9, backcountry permit zone. 42 miles of trail, no cell service past the first ridge, and one of the last places in the Mid-South where you can genuinely lose yourself for a weekend without hearing a highway. We left Drew's apartment in Claremont at 5:15 a.m. on Friday, September 12th. I remember the exact time because Mara made a point of it. She said, and I quote, "If we're not on the road by 5:15, I'm not going." She had a thing about getting to trailheads before other people. She didn't like crowds. None of us did, really. That was the point. The drive to the Duskpine North Trailhead is 3 hours and 40 minutes from Claremont on a good day. We took County Road 12 off Route 9, that long, straight stretch with the dead gas station and the grain silos, then a left onto Forest Service Road 7, which turns to gravel after about 2 miles and doesn't tell you that on any map. We arrived at the trailhead parking area at 8:52 a.m. One other truck in the lot. Out-of-state plates. Nobody around. We signed in at the permit kiosk, site number J-14. Roughly 6 miles in along the Ridgeback Trail, then a short descent to a flat clearing near Holloway Creek. I had printed the topo map. I had a compass. Patrick had a GPS unit that he referred to as Margot and treated like a second girlfriend. Drew had a first aid kit, a portable water filter, and approximately 14 granola bars, which he considered adequate nutrition for 3 days. Mara had the camera, a real one, a mirrorless Canon she'd been shooting with for years. The weather was perfect, low humidity, highs in the mid-60s, the kind of fall air that makes you feel like the world is about to do something beautiful. We reached Site J14 by early afternoon, maybe 1:30 p.m. The clearing was exactly as advertised. Wide, flat, a stone fire ring already in place from previous campers, with Holloway Creek maybe 40 feet to the east, making that low, consistent sound that makes you sleep better than any white noise machine. We set up tents, filtered water, ate lunch, did nothing important. The first night was completely unremarkable. We built a fire around 7 p.m. Nothing big, just enough to sit around. The 4 of us talked for 3 or 4 hours. Old stories, stupid arguments, the comfortable kind of nothing that you can only really have with people you've known a long time. Patrick burned his marshmallow on purpose, which he claimed was the correct method. Mara took photos of the fire. Drew fell asleep sitting up and denied it afterward. Around 11 p.m., we let the fire die down naturally, spread the coals, and went to bed. Everything was fine. Saturday was a full hike day. We did the upper Ridgeback Loop, about 9 miles with some elevation, and got back to camp around 4 p.m. Feet sore, spirits good, We had freeze-dried meals and filtered more creek water, and Patrick found a flat rock near the fire ring that he spent an unreasonable amount of time deciding was the right sitting rock. We got the fire going again around 6:30 p.m. And this is where I want to be very precise, because everything that came after depends on you understanding that we were completely sober, completely rested, and paying attention. The fire was normal for the first hour. Oak wood we'd carried in. We didn't collect from the forest floor. That's a rule I've kept since I was a kid. It caught well. It burned clean. The temperature dropped after dark, and we pulled in closer. Around 8 p.m., Mara said, "Do you hear that?" We stopped talking. Low, there was a sound coming from the tree line on the north side of the clearing. I want to be careful how I describe it, because I don't want to overstate it. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't an animal sound I could immediately name. It was low and rhythmic, almost like breathing, but spaced too far apart to be breathing. Maybe one pulse every 4 or 5 seconds. Drew said it was probably a grouse. Patrick agreed. I've heard grouse. I didn't say anything. It stopped after about 2 minutes. We went back to talking. At 9:47 p.m., I know this because Drew checked his watch after, the fire changed. Not dramatically, not suddenly. It just shifted. The flame color went from the usual orange-yellow to something deeper, more amber, almost red at the base. And the smoke, which had been rising straight up in the still air, began to move horizontally, toward the north, toward the tree line. There was no wind. I held up my hand. Nothing. Patrick said it was probably a change in the wood's moisture content affecting combustion. I nodded. I didn't say anything, but I took a picture of it, with my phone. The timestamp is 9:49 p.m. I still have that photo, and if you look at the smoke in it, you'll see exactly what I'm describing. The fire burned like that, same amber color, smoke going north, for the rest of the night. We went to bed around midnight. It had died down to coals by then, same as the night before. I checked it before I got in my tent. Coals, orange and dim, no flame, normal. When I woke up at 6:15 a.m. on Sunday, the morning we were supposed to break camp, the fire was burning. Not smoking, not smoldering. Burning, full flame, as if someone had fed it fresh wood in the night. But we were the only camp in that entire sector. I had seen exactly one other vehicle at the trailhead parking lot, and it had been gone when we passed by on our Saturday hike. I woke up Drew first, then Patrick. Patrick walked around the entire fire ring, looking at the ground, looking at the wood. The wood was different, not the oak we'd carried in. It was darker, denser. He picked up a piece and smelled it, and said nothing for a long moment, and then put it down. I asked him what it was. He said he didn't know. Drew said, "Someone must have come in overnight and added wood. That's it. That's what happened." Mara didn't say anything. She was standing at the edge of the clearing, looking at the tree line. She had her camera down at her side. Not shooting, just looking. I asked her what she saw. She said, "Nothing. That's the problem." I didn't understand what she meant until much later. Too quickly, maybe. Mara was. Too quickly, maybe. Mara was already taking down her tent. Before we left, we dealt with the fire. I want to be thorough here, because I have been asked about this, by the ranger later, and by myself 100 times since. We did not just douse it and leave. We did it right. Step 1. We let it burn down as much as possible while we packed. By 7:30 a.m., it was lower. Still going, but lower. Step 2. I used our 2 2-liter water bottles, fully loaded, and poured them directly onto the fire and the surrounding ring. That's 4 liters. The fire went out. There was steam. There was the smell of wet ash. There was the sound, that specific, ugly hiss of a fire being killed. Step 3. Patrick, who again had done trail maintenance and took this seriously, used the camp shovel to mix the wet ash with the mineral soil below. 6 inches, roughly. Then he packed more soil on top of the disturbed ring. He pressed it down with his boot. Step 4. We waited 15 minutes. We checked for any smoke or heat with our hands held 3 inches above the soil. Nothing. Step 5. Drew had 2 more liters in his pack, the ones filtered the previous afternoon. We poured those over the ring as well. That's 6 liters total. The soil was soaked. The ring was cold to a hand-whip examination. We hiked out. We reached the parking lot at 10:23 a.m. Patrick's car had not been touched. No other vehicles. We loaded up. I took one last look back down the trail. Just trees. No smoke. Nothing. The sky was clear. We drove home on County Road 12, stopped at a diner outside Millbrook for breakfast, and arrived back in Claremont at approximately 2:40 p.m. I was in my own apartment by 3 p.m. I showered. I ate leftovers. I was asleep by 9 p.m. It was a normal Sunday. My phone rang on Wednesday morning at 8:17 a.m. Unknown number. Harlan County area code.
According to Section 4B of the September filings, they
14th.
shouldn't be in that sector.
And when I was
We're
the permit
mobilizing
holder
ground
for
teams
Site
now. Emphasize
J14
caution.
in Duskpine Sector 9 for the weekend of September 12th through 14th. And when I said yes, there was a pause before he continued. He said, "Sir, I need to ask you about the fire ring at your site." I said, "What about it?" He said, "Were you aware that the fire was still burning when you left the site?" I told him no. I told him we had extinguished it completely. I walked him through every step I just described to you. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I believe you. I've read a lot of incident reports, and that sounds like a correct extinguishing procedure. But I need you to understand what we found." What they found, as Ranger Vasquez explained it to me, a routine sector check on Tuesday, September 16th, 2 full days after we left, had discovered an active fire at Site J14. Not a large fire, not a dangerous fire. A small, steady, well-contained fire burning within the original ring. The ranger who found it, a woman named Torres, initially assumed a new party had come in and failed to check in at the permit kiosk. She documented it, flagged it, and moved on. On Wednesday morning, which was when he was calling me, another ranger doing a follow-up check found it still burning. Still burning. 3 days after we had extinguished it. I asked Vasquez if there was any explanation. Gas leak? Underground coal seam? He said they had considered both. The geology of Sector 9 didn't support a coal seam. There were no gas lines within 40 miles. The wood in the ring, they had recovered fragments, was not the charred remains of what we'd buried. It was fresh wood. Dense and dark, he said. He didn't know the species. I felt something cold move through me when he said that. I told him about the wood Patrick had picked up Sunday morning. Dark. Dense. Unknown species. Vasquez went quiet for a moment. Then he said, "How big was your group?" 4 people, I said. 2 men, 2 women. He said, "Did all 4 of you leave together?" I said yes. I said we all hiked out at the same time and drove out in the same vehicle. He said, "And no one went back? No one forgot anything?" I said no. He said, "Okay." And then he asked me something that I have been turning over in my mind every day since. He said, "In the photos you took over the weekend, and you mentioned your friend had a camera, I'd like to ask you something about them. In any of the photos taken around the campfire, did you notice anyone in the background that you didn't recognize? Anyone standing at the tree line?" I told him I'd have to check. He said to take my time. He gave me his direct number. He said to call him if I found anything. He said the fire had been extinguished by the time of the second check on Wednesday, his call to me, and that the site was being closed for assessment. I hung up. I sat in my kitchen for a while. Then I called Mara. Mara answered on the second ring. She sounded like she hadn't been sleeping well. I told her about Vasquez, about the fire, about the wood. She didn't interrupt me. She didn't sound surprised. When I finished, I asked her about the photos. She said, "I know." I asked her what she meant. She said, "I looked at them the night we got back, Sunday night. I was going to tell you, and then I didn't know how." I asked her what she saw. She said, "In the Saturday night shots, the ones I took of the fire, there's someone standing in the tree line, north side. Every single photo I took that night, Caleb. Every one. Same spot." I asked her to send them to me. She said, "I already deleted them." I started to say something and she cut me off. She said, "Listen to me. It wasn't a person. The way it was standing, the way it wasn't moving at all. Through a 2-hour shoot, same exact position, same exact spot. And the thing is, the smoke. You remember how the smoke was going north the whole time?" I said yes. She said, "It wasn't going north. I could see it clearly through the viewfinder. It was going toward that spot, specifically toward it, like..." She stopped. I waited. She said, "Like something was breathing it in." I sat with that for a long time. Here is the thing about Mara. She's been shooting photography for 11 years. She doesn't dramatize. She doesn't exaggerate. She is one of the most precise, literal people I have ever met. And she deleted those photos immediately, Sunday night, before she said a word to any of us. I thought about what she'd said. It wasn't moving. And I thought about the sound from the tree line on Saturday night. That slow, rhythmic pulse. One beat every 4 or 5 seconds. Not breathing. Too slow for breathing. Unless it wasn't our kind of breathing. I thought about the fire that shouldn't have been burning, and the wood that shouldn't have been there. And I thought about what Mara had said on Sunday morning, when she was standing at the edge of the clearing, looking north. Nothing. That's the problem. I thought I'd understood that. I thought she meant she didn't see anything where she expected to see something. A person, an animal, some explanation. I called her back. I asked her what she had meant. She said, "The birds. The whole time we were at that site, 2 days, I never heard a single bird from the north side. Not a call, not a wing beat, nothing. I didn't realize it until Sunday morning. And then I looked at the tree line and I understood." I asked her what she understood. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That whatever was there had been there the whole time. That it wasn't passing through. That it's the kind of thing that stays in one place for a very long time and waits for something to come close enough." I called Vasquez back that afternoon and told him what Mara had said, about the figure, about the direction of the smoke. He listened to all of it. When I finished, he said, "Caleb, I've been a ranger at Duskpine for 14 years. I waited. He said, "That site, J14, I don't assign it anymore. I haven't for the last 2 seasons. But when I pulled the permit records after Torres's first report, I saw your group had been assigned it automatically. System glitch, we think." I asked him how many other groups had been assigned it before him. He said, 3 in the last 6 years. I asked him what happened to them. He said, "They all checked out fine. All came home. All reported the same thing. A figure in the tree line on the second night. Fire that kept burning after they left." I asked if anyone had photographed it. He said, "One group did." I asked him what the photos showed. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Nothing. The spot where the figure should have been was just dark." like the light wouldn't land there. He said the site was closed now, permanently. He said as far as he was concerned, the case was closed too. He thanked me for my time, and he said, and this is the last thing he said, and I've thought about it every night since. He said, don't go back. And don't try to look up what was in those photos. Some things stay hidden because they want to be. The second they know you've seen them, the second they're sure of it, is when they stop waiting. He hung up. I have not been camping since September. I will not go back to Duskpine. And I will tell you what I told Drew and Patrick when I relayed all of this to them. The campfire burned for 3 days after we left, but I don't think it was burning for warmth. I think it was a signal. I just don't know who or what it was signaling to. If you're planning a backcountry trip this fall, check your permit assignments. Not all sites are on the official closure list. Some things don't make it into the public record. And if you're camping, and you notice the birds have gone quiet on one side of your site, if the smoke from your fire starts drifting in a direction that doesn't match the wind, don't investigate. Break camp. Leave while the light is good. Don't look into the tree line. Don't give it the satisfaction of knowing you've seen it. If this story stayed with you, and I think it will, subscribe to The Faint Whisper. New stories every week. The kind that stay quiet in the back of your mind, right up until the moment you turn off the lights. I'll be here.